Tomorrow is the deadline to make your voice heard about the Currency Bill 2019. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. I'm Florian Heise, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got my stein of coffee, and it's still bloody cold here in Brisbane today. It's all that Arctic wind. I think some parts of Victoria and New South Wales have had the first snow for the first time in 20 years. Now, I thought we would look at, or I wanted to remind everyone, about the cash ban, the legislation that is being put in to limit or make transactions for Australians for amounts of $10,000 or above in cash illegal. Years of jail, tens of thousands of dollars of fines if you just want to spend $10,000 cash in a business to, protect us all from that scary black market. Now, I'll link to the Australian government, the Treasury website, but we'll just have a look at it here. I've spoken about this before, and I'll include a segment of my previous video at the end of this one. But you can see here we've got 2 days left to have your say, and down the bottom there's an email address to make a submission. Now, a few people have made a submission. I have put a submission in. We can see here. I've got it on my website, and I'll link to that. And this is what I sent to all of our politicians, to several politicians, House of Reps in lots of different states. I didn't get one reply back, but I just, it's the format in here is different to how I sent it. But I just focused on introducing the bill, and then 4 points. Removing our ability to make purchases from businesses is, restriction on our fundamental liberties, forcing people in the digital banking system, implementing the legislation would add burden and stress, particularly to the elderly, and the release of this draft legislation on Friday with such a short time frame seems a bit, like it's not going to allow people to make their voice heard. And that was it. I made a submission. I helped express my opinion. I also reached out to a lot of politicians. Also, the economist, John Adams, he made a very good and detailed submission here, and you can see that on his website, and I will link to that. Raised his concerns, and he's a professional. He's done a good job. Don't let the quality of his work intimidate you from a normal lay person like myself putting a submission in. Everyone's voices needs to be heard. In many ways, it's a numbers game. You need to get out there and respond to this and let people know that you have your concerns, that you're worried about it. Personally, I think it's a bit of a joke. I think the way they put it out is just a bit disgusting, really. And the more I learn about monetarianism and the safeguards that just having physical money provides for us, the more I'm concerned about having a digital system, even a purely digital system, or pushing us more towards that. Even if you never use cash, still having the option to hoard cash, or just to hold cash, or to use cash is valuable in itself. And it has intrinsic protective mechanisms for us in the coming, advanced and exciting monetary policies the IMF are pushing. So guys, that's what I'm doing. Well, I'm setting out this video to remind everyone that you can still make a submission. If you haven't yet, please take the time, even just put an email together, write a few points. It's just about getting, as wide a variety of people there putting submissions in. Because, I've looked at the previous round of submissions, and it's saying, if they're going, oh, well, we've had 50,000 submissions from people all around the country expressing concerns about this. We've had people reaching out to their local members expressing concern about this. I think I saw One Nation, even Pauline Hanson is discussing it as well. So, it's good getting the minor parties to start verbalizing this concern. I haven't seen anything from the LDP yet. They're probably all too busy at the conference that's going on at the moment in New South Wales. I'm sure this legislation will be discussed there as well. I'm hoping it is. So, guys, here it is. I'll link to these websites and this below, and I will now just cut to a portion of my previous video where we go through an at-a-glance summary of this legislation. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now. So let's have a look at the at-a-glance. We'll go through that. We'll go through that now. We'll have a look. So, exposure draft legislation for an economy-wide cash payment limit of $10,000. Now, you may think, oh, this is good. It'll be efficient. It'll have all these advantages. But it's what else? It's what else it can lead to. It's a fundamental limit on our freedom. It really is. It means then the government can control the entire back of the economy. It means you're completely a slave to the banking system. What about people who get refused service with the banks? How are they meant to operate then? You know, if they have a business, how are they meant to operate? It's happening. It's happening in America. It's happening here in Australia, where businesses or banks are refusing to provide people with accounts for political reasons. Anyway, quick facts. Rationale. The introduction, of an economy-wide cash payment limit is a recommendation from the Black Economy Task Force and sends a strong signal to the community that it is not acceptable to avoid tax and other obligations by paying with cash. How much do they think that actually occurs? Honestly, how much? I bet you it's a lot less than people think. Honestly, I'd be more concerned with companies that make a tremendous amount of revenue in Australia and then have it all going to Ireland. You know, I'd be more concerned with that. Why aren't they addressing that rather than this? Because that's a huge amount of tax too. Anyway, that's a different topic. What transactions are covered by the cash payment limit? The limit applies to all cash transactions equal to or in excess of $10,000, except for those that meet certain conditions specified in the draft currency restrictions on the use of cash, except the transactions instrument 2019. Okay. Now here's an important thing to understand. When you've got like an act. Okay, that's an act that has to be passed by Parliament. So they'll have this act here. And underneath it, they'll either have regulations or instruments, other documents. And this act refers to different things in this other document, the regulation or the instrument or whatever it is. Now, to change the act, you need to go through Parliament. That's difficult, that's slow and painful. To change the instrument or the regulation underneath, you don't. The bureaucrats, the civil servants can do it. So just bear that in mind, that everything we are reading here, you can say, oh, that's fantastic, that's good. But there is a mechanism here for future governments to place additional restrictions on it. And you might be thinking $10,000, oh, that's fine. You know, I hardly ever need to spend that. You know, or I'll be exempt from it because I'm doing this. But we're going to have a look at some other countries that have restrictions that are even more severe than this. More severe than this. So, what are examples of exempt transactions? All cash deposits. I mean, sure, I can read this now, but it's pointless because it can all be changed at the whim of the bureaucrats, at the whim of a new political party. And we're already seeing that the politicians are not responding to large groups of people. You know, you had, one nation look for a plebiscite on immigration. You can agree or disagree on it, but, you know, I guarantee you there was more than just the people that voted for them that would be interested in seeing a plebiscite. I think a lot of people are worried of direct democracy a little bit too much in our Senate House, but maybe that's something for another discussion. So, all cash deposits and withdrawals from your bank account with an authorized deposit-taking institution, exchanging foreign currency, and all consumer-to-consumer transactions such as selling a second-hand car, but excluding real property transactions. Okay? So you can still buy your car with cash, but anything else you can't. Your house you can't buy with cash. Are there any new reporting requirements? This will not impose additional reporting requirements on businesses and consumers. Oh, bullshit. Sorry, I shouldn't swear, but I don't believe that for a second, okay? Who else is with me? Let me know in the comments if you believe that this will not require any reporting requirements. You know what will happen. Your accountants will be required to report to the ATO if you record any cash payments, or if they detect any cash payments and dob you in, and then you could get done. What happens if you break the limit? From 1st of January 2020, it will be a criminal offence to make or accept a payment from businesses that include $10,000 or more of cash. It is also an offence to make or accept a cash donation equal to or in excess of $10,000. The maximum penalty for just spending cash, the maximum penalty is up to 2 years in prison and or 120 penalty points, 25 grand. I bet you they index these penalty points much more efficiently than they index, other government things with the CPI. But nonetheless, 2 years in prison just for spending $10,000 with a business. 2 years in prison. That sounds insane. How is that not a restriction on your freedoms to do that? This is authoritarian. This really is. This is a restriction on your freedoms. Maybe they should be looking. I mean, we've got a liberal government here. Maybe they should be looking at how they can reduce the tax burden on their citizens rather than nickel and diming everyone to the point where we're getting these authoritarian restrictions on spending our own bloody money. How about this? Wait, here's an idea. How about we limit all government spending to $10,000 at one point? You know, $10,000. And they can't have more than 2 contracts per job. What do you reckon about that one? That'll be efficient then. Maybe they'll cut some dead weight there. So anyway, I'm getting angry. I need a coffee. How does the cash payment limit apply to payment plans? The cash payment limit will apply to the total price of a single supply of goods or services regardless of whether the price is split into a series of payments over time. See, they thought of that. The total cash payments made towards the final price paid but must not equal to or exceed $10,000. The remainder of the payments must be made electronically or by check. So if I was paying off a piece of equipment and wanted to just pay it with cash that I got from a client, still put it through the books, but you can't do it. You can't do it. When is it going to be that your house gets raided when they find out that you have too much cash in place? And when's that going to happen? Okay, I got to move this over a bit here. Here we go. So, proposed changes to threshold transaction reporting for AUSTRAC reporting entities. The proposed change from 1st of Jan 2021, many AUSTRAC reporting entities will no longer need to report threshold transactions to AUSTRAC. Instead, they will be subject to the cash payment limit like all other businesses in the economy. Certain transactions for services provided by ADI and foreign currency exchanges will continue to be subject to threshold transaction reporting obligations and will therefore be exempt from the cash payment limit. Questions can be sent there. Next step and key milestones for implementation. Following public consultation, the government will consider feedback and introduce the bill to Parliament. Okay, there's also time now to contact every member of Parliament that is your representative or someone you know. Contact them. Let them know your concern. Let them know the issues with this. Contact the LDP. The Libertarians. They should be all over this. Labour should be all over this. Liberal. If they really are interested in personal liberty, there's bound to be a camp of them in there that are not supportive of this legislation. Explain to them the implications of it. So how to make your submission. They're due by Monday the 12th, and you can do it here. So I'll link to all of that if you're interested.